standard station setup. An example of what you may have is a interview area, could be at a college talking to students, potential applicants for ROTC. So this area we have a few small items on the wall. It's a work office, but we want to be able to make the area match. We want it to flow. We want people to be comfortable in it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to discuss how to measure the room properly, send the Brainy Support Program the correct order for what you really want and need. So we're going to start off with, we want to take a picture of the area. If I have a photograph to work off of, or your contractor has a photo to work off of, we're better able to lay out what is it going to look like. What will it look like to you when it's done? So we take a photograph of the area. When we take a photograph, we want to stand as far back against the wall as possible. So an example, I may want to stand back here in the corner to take a picture of the other side of the room. Take a picture of this wall over here, this wall over here. Then I'll move back to the opposite corner to take a picture of this area. Once my pictures are complete, I'm then going to want to provide measurements. Now, some things you want to take into account when you're taking your measurements. You have obstacles on the wall. We have a door stop right here. We have a plug. You may have an emergency exit sign. You may have a clock. Those kind of items right there are hard-mounted items. They're not going to be easy to move. So you may want to measure around it, or you may not want to put an image in that area. So, for example, for measuring this area right here, I'm going to ask for one of my assistants. Tammy's going to come forward, and she's going to hold my tape form while we measure. She holds my tape, she's going to hold it up against the leading edge of my door frame. And then pull it into the corner. And right here we're about 106 inches. And we're going to want to get the height. Now, being that we're just going to put some 24 by 36 inch prints on this wall, the height of our bottom piece right here is not that big of a deal. But if we plan on running a print from the bottom to the top, we have to take that into account. And we're going to have to measure from there up instead of going all the way down to the floor. Now, if you have no crown molding at the bottom, you don't have to worry about it. You can go straight down to the floor. So for this example, we'll measure from the top of the crown molding. We'll measure all the way up to the ceiling. We're at about 109.5 inches. Thank you, Tim. When we provide these measurements, we can superimpose them onto the image that we send for our request, or you can simply add them into an email. But better description of what you measured will help us out when we lay out your materials. Now, if we decided that we want to put something in this area where this door stop is, then I'm going to need measurements of that also. From the door frame to that item, and from the floor to that item. Again, you can superimpose those onto your images, or you can simply send us an email and explain where it is on your email. Now that we've measured our wall, we have our other wall also. Again, same type of measurements. We're just going to go from one side to the other side, from the bottom to the top. We may take into account sockets down below, socket over here. We want to take into account materials in the office, chairs in the office, file cabinets, and those type of items. We obviously don't want to put an image behind a file cabinet. So you take into account the height of items, take your measurements, that's where your item is going to lay out. So for example, I brought in one of our posters. This poster right here has been laminated. It's been mounted to a hard plastic material. It's fairly rigid. It does have a slight amount of weight to it, but there is other materials you can order, like foam core. But a material like this is very clean. It's crisp. There's no frame needed. You can remove all the frames in your office and put up materials like this. They all match, and it's a clean product. To install a product like this to your wall, the best method is first to figure out how big is my item. We have a 24 by 36 inch poster right here. So with this 24 by 36 inch poster, we're going to figure out where's it going to lay out on the wall. My best method is I'll measure from right to left, get the center point of my wall, figure out how many images I have on my wall. This one I was going to put 2 images. So I'll figure out my halfway point between my halfway point on the wall. So I have my halfway point here, figure out my halfway point on this, and then that's where the middle of my image is going to go. So for example, my image would be placed on the wall right here, and then we would have another image over here. The layout of your prints on your wall is 80% of your presentation. You want to have a good layout of your materials. You don't want to overdo the materials on the wall. Not every person has a capability or the option to put a hard mounted material on the wall. Some of our universities and our recruiting stations, we have restrictions to where the organization that owns that facility states we cannot hard mount onto a wall, or we can't damage the wall material. When an instance like that happens, you can use a material we have which is very similar to a fathead material. It's a product that has a very light adhesive on the back of it. It can be stuck on the wall and removed. So for example, we have a Special Forces tab.
They say you heard it.
Be simply laid out on the wall and stuck to the wall. Now if you're in an environment where the air is turned off at nighttime and it gets humid or hot in the area, these will peel off the wall. But if you're in a continuous climate where they always keep the air on, then you'll have no problem with this material. If you want to move the material, you just simply grab a corner, peel it up, and pull it off. Now over time, if you're moving the material a lot, you may start to notice debris on the back side. You can take a very light, damp material, a sponge. You can actually wipe that debris off the back. If you put a small amount of soap on it too, you can wipe that off and then let it air dry on its own, and it'll stick right back up to the wall again. Again, sometimes you may not have the option to lay a material out where you want to put it. You may not be able to hard mount it, you may not be able to use the fat head, but you may be able to mount it to an office appliance, a metal door. We have our magnetic material. For example only, we have our file cabinet, it is metal. We can size it to fit exactly to the doors. But this piece right here just simply lays out and sticks to your magnetic material. Again, you can put it on a door, you can put it on a vehicle, you can put it on multiple products, and it can be sized to your wants and needs. On the average, we usually do 11 by 18 inches. We have our laminated material, because all it is a paper. It's laminated back and front. Put some simple double-sided sticky tape on here. We can also use Velcro. You're going to measure your wall out first and put your marks on there where you want it to be. And obviously you want to make sure it is level. There you see very simply, we put some double-sided tape on the back and we're able to stick it to the wall. Maybe if you're going to an event, if you're going to set up one day at a high school and you have a wall back behind it that you want to put some posters on, a very simple laminated poster, double-sided tape, and then when you're done, you can just peel the material right back off the wall. Today we're going to discuss some of the materials used for mounting in your office or outdoors, on exterior buildings. It could be anything. Example right here, we have a masonry block. A lot of your older ROTC buildings, recruiting offices, your offices may be a stucco wall or it could be a cinder block wall. You can simply drill a test hole and figure out what kind of material you have, or you can ask somebody. If you're going to drill into masonry, you're going to need a hammer drill with a hammer drill bit. These are specifically made for masonry. Some materials you can use, we have our lead masonry anchors, and they sell these in different lengths. Depending on how thick of a wall you're drilling into, you may need a longer length. We have our blue Tapcon, which are made for also drilling into masonry. All these masonry items though do require a pre-drilled hole to go into them. Some other items we have a tappet. The tappet is a screw material for drywall. This one right here is made to where it can be ran right into the drywall with no pre-drilling. So you can just take this item, screw it right into your wall. So you set your measurements up. I found the easiest method to do is you have your print You've already made your marks on your wall, your upper mark and your left bleeding mark as to where you want the item. I like to place that item on the wall, set it on my mark, and I'll take my drill and I'll go ahead and run my holes through the material right into the wall. Now again, this would obviously be much easier with two-person. But after you run it into the wall, now you will have your marks as to where your tappets can go. Take your tappet, run it in there. Then you simply take your screw, run it through the hole that's already been drilled in your material, and run it right into the tappet. If you want a cleaner look, you can use a beauty ring. This simply, you just place this on your material, you run your screw through it, and when you screw it in, you'll have a nice little ring around your screw. It gives a nice cleaner look. If you don't want to see anything whatsoever, you have the option of running your screw into the material, and we can provide a sticker that will match your material. Obviously this one is for a green material, but we'll provide a sticker that you can place over the top of your screw to hide your screw. All right, some other options we have. You may want to put a spacer on the wall, pull your print off the wall a little bit. You see simply the spacer would stick to the back of your print and it'll pull off the wall a little bit, get kind of a 2D or a 3D look. When using the spacer method, you have a couple options. One of the options I like to do is you can peel off the adhesive, stick it to the back of the item, and then you can drill right through the item, right through this, and your item will be mounted to the wall. But your screw still will be showing. You can use your beauty mark, your beauty ring like we spoke of before, or you can use your sticker to cover over that screw head. A method that I've recently began using is I've actually mounted the blocks to the wall, either using my tappet or a drywall screw, running right through here and mounting this block to the wall. Once the block has been mounted to the wall, I then take a Velcro material, I pull my adhesive off, I place it onto my mounted block, and I take my poster and I stick it right to that adhesive. There's a few advantages in this item. If I take this adhesive right here and stick it directly to the wall, it will pull off the drywall paper over time. But a simple small screw hole can just be drywall pasted over afterwards. So this method here, I have one hole screwed into the wall, then I have my sticky material that this will stick to. Now there's other advantages. Say the poster goes out of date and I want to change it out. Being that it's Velcro, I can simply peel the Velcro material apart with the poster on the wall. I can put new Velcro on the back of my new print. Then I can stick it right back up where the other item was.